Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of Down the Hobbit Hole. Today is a beautiful May the 18th here in East Tennessee, and my name is Emily, and this is my weekly podcast about knitting and spinning and all things making. So if you'd like to find me online, you can find me on Instagram as MistyMountMakers. You can find me on Ravelry as MistyMountMakers. And you can find our Ravelry group under the Groups tab as MistyMountMakers, or you could just find all the links down below. If you'd like to email me for any reason, if you have a question, if you want to donate prizes to the knit-along or the podcast in general, you can email me at emily@mistymountainmakers.com, and I'll be able to get back to you right away from there. Today we are inside. I know it's been a while. And we are in my office. Well, I call it my office. It's kind of just a train wreck that I try not to look at too often, unless I need something. I really need to get it organized. My cubes here are not too bad. Oh, hello. They're not too bad, but like there's a reason for where everything is, but as you can see, it's not the neatest thing in the world. All these tags over here with little pictures of sheep. I'm not sure if you can see it too well. Sorry. Okay. Tim and I found out we're not sick, we just have really bad allergies. And this happens every year. Every year about the time it stops raining, we're like, oh man, we're getting sick. You know, it's just been so wet lately. Clearly we're just ill, and no, it's allergies every time. Which we didn't have in Florida. We've been here 5 years now? 4 years? We've been here some number of years, so we should be getting used to it, but our allergies weren't bad in Florida. It's just here we're like surrounded by mountains, so all the pollen just kind of settles on you. I'm not sure, but it's terrible. Anyways, what I was talking about. All of these braids are a different sheep breed, and I started doing a study a few years ago. My mom got me, I sent her many texts and emails. She gives me a choice for Christmas. She just tells me she asks me, what do you want, and gives me a budget. So I sent her this and just kept checking in. Did you order it? Did you order it? Hey. Did you order it? And it's, I'll put a link if the shop is still selling these. I'll put a link below. I have to find out who it was. But it's 11 different breeds, and you get 4 ounces of each. And I pulled out an ounce of each breed and put them into a baggie. So I have all of these samples. Here we go. So like here's my Icelandic sample. And so I spun it on a hand spindle. And I kept a little chunk with a little label, Icelandic. There it is. And I spun it on a spindle and chain plied it and started knitting it. So I only managed to get a few breeds into this before I just started collecting and stopped actually doing anything with it. So I think at some point I'm going to pick this back up again. Sorry for all the crinkling. But maybe do a sample a week. It's because if I'm only spinning an ounce, and I'm just spinning it thin and then chain plying it, then it shouldn't take me that long. So I've got like Cormo locks. Some of the women in the spinning guild were very nice, and they've donated little samples for me. Things that they bought and they just never used. I've got a black Norwegian top. North County Cheviot, Coopworth, East Frisian, Blueface Leicester. Now I'm dropping things. Yeah. And I've got like Gotland Thin, Herdwick, and Herdwicks are absolutely the cutest sheep in the world. Look at that face. Who wouldn't love that? I think in the fleece and fiber source book. They're described as looking like little boulders. I want one. There's a farm in New York, I think, that has hardwicks. And it's so tempting. I just want one. Just have one in my flock. I'll have a bunch of Jacobs and just one little hardwick bouldering along. But yeah, maybe I'll start doing that. We'll see. I want to get into the cal before I start doing any of that. And then behind me, I've got all my blues, all my greens, and, you know, purples and blue tones and oceany colors, and these are all kind of earth tones. And then I've got my bits and pieces in here, just stuff. Bits and pieces more on the red, pink kind of spectrum. And then there's just more spinning as you go that way. I've got some spindles that Tim made for me. And this tiny one, he made out of Osage orange. And it's, he made me a tiny one because I told him we had these bushes that grew out in front of the rental that we were living in before we came here. And it had spiders making little, I never saw the spiders, but they were making little hammocks of webs in between the branches. So I was really tempted to try to spin it, just to see if I could. And I kind of felt bad about that idea, just because I'd be destroying all their hard work. But I never got around to it. We wound up moving a little while after he made me the spindles, and since we were house hunting and everything, I just never got a chance. I probably could have made the time, but I didn't. Now I have to just keep an eye out for similar spider webs here, so that I can try. But yeah, onto, oh, and these strings that you're seeing, this is my loom. It's kind of up in storage for now. So, there we go, and then we've got more spinning fiber. This is a bat my friend Madeline made. Some dyed Cotswold locks, cotton, my little gremlin. I'll find the pattern for him, if I can, and post it. This little guy was made, my dad and I went on a trip to Indiana, and he let me stop at like every yarn shop along the way. And so pretty much all of the yarn here is made from yarn that I got on that trip, and he passed away about 5 years ago, so it's very special to me. Yeah, so that's where we are today. I think we'll be going back outside, but I had some technical issues, and I'm actually recording this on my tablet today. My phone seems to have a seizure every time I try to save a video that's over like 15 seconds. So, tablet. I tried with my laptop, and I tried with my camera. I tried for quite a while, that's why I'm recording on Thursday. I hope I didn't say Wednesday earlier, but it is Thursday. Yeah, I had some trouble, so I just took a break and decided to record today so I'd be a little peppier. But yeah, on to the podcast. I did want to talk about a couple of podcasts that I've been watching lately. One would be, and these are just podcasts that I really like, and if you haven't heard of them already, hopefully you'll go check them out. The first one is Wool Needles Hands, and I really love this podcast. It's hosted by Taylor, and she is just so happy and so joyful, and I enjoy watching her podcast so much because she's so positive, and she just started her own yarn company, or she will be. She's dying now. I don't think that the company has gone live yet, but I love her podcast. It's bi-weekly, and so I'm always kind of surprised when it pops up because, like, with her and with Grocery Girls and Knitting Expat, whenever a podcast comes up, I'm just like, oh, it's here, and I just get all excited. So you should check her out. They're doing a cal until June the 17th, called The Great Unravel, and the idea is you go to a thrift store and you find a sweater and unravel it, and she's got how-to videos on how to do that, and you unravel it and re-knit it into something that you would wear. So I think that's cool, especially because you can go to Goodwill and you can find like a massive sweater for what, like $2-3, and that's a lot of yarn to work with. And in fact, one second, I have some sweaters that I got at Goodwill that I got at Goodwill, and I want to go find different ones for her knit along, because I love this sweater. It's so pretty. It's so yellow, and it's so happy. Yellow, it's definitely one of my favorite colors, a bright, sunshiny yellow. And it's got black with teeny tiny little blue accents. I love this sweater. The problem is it feels like a Brillo pad. It's so pretty. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do, because I want to keep this intact. So that's why I'm not taking it apart, because even if I re-knit it, it's going to feel like a Brillo pad. There's no saving it. But, and, oh, there's the label. And it's so pretty. So I think this might get turned into like a pillowcase or something, so that I can still see this and just put it out on my couch, because my couch is blue with yellow cushions. So this one could be like the middle cushion or something. And I got this for $3, I think. And then this is one of 3 sweaters that I found that are 100% cashmere. And it is a good size sweater. It's long sleeved, it's a turtleneck. And, yep. It's a women's medium. And I found one in this periwinkle blue. I have another one that's in like a baby pink, and I found another in a rust orange. Now that one was into turtleneck, but I have been spinning the yarn because it's so thin, and it's pretty brittle. I've been spinning the yarn onto my spinning wheel as it comes off, instead of like winding it into a cake, and adding twist to it so that I can chain ply it so it'll thicken up and it'll be a lot stronger that way. And any waist that I have, I want to try putting through my drum carder on like a higher speed and putting it through a couple times to make like cashmere noils for bats, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. But we'll see. I just need to get around to it, make the time. And then, so yes, I will be going to Goodwill to try to find some sweaters, because I really want to take part in that too. But another one is the Stranded podcast, which I think probably all of you have already seen, and it is with Amy, and she just did an episode, and I love Amy because her podcast is so bright and cheerful, and I love her style, because she's always wearing like neutrals with lots of pops of color, and I can't tell if it's the camera or it seems like her pops of color are vibrant but still pastel-y. Like it's a really nice combination. I love just everything about the way she dresses and the stuff she knits. I love watching her podcast. And she just did an episode, and it was 30 minutes of her showing off her socks. She just showed off all of the socks in her collection, which was great. She said she'd been knitting them for like 3 years, I think. And I think she had over 60 socks, or maybe just at 60. So, new life goal. I need 60 pairs of hand knit socks. And some of them were hand spun, and she kind of showed the different ones, and it was great. I liked it. It's very inspiring to get you knitting some socks. So check her out if you haven't already. And then the last one is a brand new podcast, and it's a friend of mine from Instagram, and her name is Megan, and her podcast is the Little Fish Stitches podcast, and it's her first episode, and I think she did a great job. I really enjoyed seeing all the things that she's been knitting, and she's a little bit nervous at first, but you're putting yourself out there on YouTube. You're gonna be nervous, So if you haven't, look her up, give it a watch, show her some love so she can feel welcome, because it's always really scary getting that first episode out there. But I'm excited to see more from her. Yeah, I think we'll be moving along now to the cow, our cow. Well, drinking Earl Grey with lavender, and it's fantastic. Earl Grey on its own, not so much my favorite, but with lavender, it's really good. Okay, so for the cow, I have been, the chatter thread, we've got people posting what they're working on now, and that's really exciting for me. They have, we've got a lot of lace shawls, like, Lauren. Lauren is making the Unexpected Journey shawl, and it is this gigantic lace masterpiece, and she's going to be using Unplanned Peacock, so I'm curious to see what color she picks, and if she decides to bead it, but it is with a lace weight yarn, and it's a big intricate pattern, and I really want to see how that turns out. Tanya from the knitting, from Hooked on Ink Blobs podcast is making, she's making the Desolation of Smog shawl, which is beaded and from the same designer as the Unexpected Journey shawl, but it's fingering weight, and she's doing, it's like a creamy white out to bright pink. Oh, maybe not bright pink. Maybe it's more of like a fuchsia. I can't quite remember. Check out Instagram. You'll be able to find it. You can use the hashtag, or search for the hashtag there and back again Cal with a K, and you'll be able to see, we've got some pictures up there already of people making progress, but that's where she posted her yarn, and I'm excited to see how that turns out. But she's also making a Mama Vertebrae out of Rowan yarn, and she's calling it the Riders of Rowan cardigan. I laughed so hard. Every time I see it, I chuckle. It's great. I love it. It's clever, and I like it. So she's, actually, I think she's like halfway done with the body. She's trying to make it for her sister, who is currently expecting. So, and that's what the Mama Vertebrae is kind of for. It's for expecting mothers, so they don't have to worry about making a sweater that's going to fit over their bump. I made mine because I wouldn't have to worry so much about fit in the front, but still, it's a great cardigan. You should definitely check it out. And then Abby posted that she's going to be making a shawl. She hasn't posted what pattern yet, but she's going to be using my yarn, so that's great. She's going to be using MistyMountMakers yarn, and she got that at the Fiber Festival over in Townsend, Tennessee. It was the Smoky Mountain Fiber Arts Festival where Tim and I were vending, so that was great. It was nice to see her. And Abby and Lauren actually work at Hook and Needle, which is my local yarn shop over in Maryville, and yeah, I'll be able to see their progress in person, so that'll be fun. But if you haven't already, if you are planning on taking part, then head on over to the chatter thread. Let us know what you're making, what your mileage is. We've got all the rules there, all the guidelines. This is not a strict knit along. And I have to, last week I said I was going to record the video for the introduction, and I'm going to have to do that today, possibly this weekend. My phone started having said seizures right after I did the podcast last week, because I tried to take a picture of, I found some weird things in the woods while I was finding my yarn, and I was trying to take videos and it kept just freezing, so I gave up. It wouldn't save the videos. It would record it. It's not important. You don't need to know what my phone's doing. It's being crazy though. So, but check out the chatter thread. It's got all the guidelines. And let us know what you're making. Let us know what you're up to for the Cal. And if you post on Instagram, use that hashtag, the there and back again Cal. And we'll be able to see what you're working on. I checked my mileage as of today. I did it just before I started recording, and the first week I did 17.3 miles, so I was about 0.7 miles short of the first camp, or the first night they camp, because they actually do, the hobbits complete 18 miles the first day, so I didn't quite make it to camp, but I got close in a week as compared to their day. Let's not worry about it. And then as of today, I've gone 29.65 miles, which means I'm about 2.5 miles away from their first encounter with the Black Rider. So, it's exciting. I really want to get further. Like, I'm having fun going to the website for the AON challenge and tracking my progress. I'm gonna like print it out and have it on the wall so I can go by and like check things off and squee. My husband can bear with it. He's excited that I'm out running and being excited about running instead of him going, hey, did you go for a run today? You said you wanted to. You told me you wanted to. I'm like, yeah, I wanted to, but I was knitting. So, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, but I think those are all the updates for the cow. Except, these aren't for the cow, but these are practice for prizes for the cow. I have some finished objects. And this is the first one I made. Look at it! It's a little project bag. And this is the first one I made. So the stitches are a little funny, but overall, it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. It's got a little handle. The stitches are kind of crooked, but rotates. And it's got the little clip. And it's purple and blue. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen this. But it's got space. Lots of space on the inside. And I added a great big lobster claw that can hold stitch markers or scissors or whatever you want to put on the hook so you can keep track of it. Now this was the practice run because I didn't want to destroy all my fabric on the first try. So I made something small, and I'm actually using this for something that I'll show you in Works in Progress. Even though it's empty, I cleared it out. So this is still working as an itty bitty project bag. It'll probably end up being a purse in the future. Here's the second one I made. And they all have a fleece lining. I have some other fleece interfacing. And I have other interfacings, but I haven't tried them yet. I'm sticking with fleece for now. But same pattern as the other one. It's got the blue canvas bottom, little swivelly clip handle. My stitches are a little straighter this time. And that's part of why I'm practicing. I don't want to send you guys a bag with wonky stitches all over it. But I'm going to be making a few of these for the cow. So this one, same space fabric, has a little lobster claw. And I left enough space to flip it down so that you can just knit straight from it. And it holds a 2-ball project. I've got 2 at a time socks in here. No problem. Plenty of space. This would probably work well. Depending on the size, this would probably work well for a shawl. And the last one I made was this one. And this one, it has the same interfacing, same canvas bottom, because I spent a lot of money on the clips to make the bags just the way I wanted them. So I tried to restrict my fabric purchases. I have a hair appointment next week, so this will not be happening for much longer. But, yeah, I made another one. This one has flannel on the top that I had as a remnant from, possibly? No, I think it was Joann's. I think I got it at Joann's. But, so it doesn't stand up as well. I think if I'm going to use a thinner fabric, I'm going to use a stiffer interfacing. But handle, this one has a square tab, just because I couldn't find D-rings in the right color. And this one has matte fabric. So yeah, I now have project bags! More than just one, because I've been using the same one for over a year now, and it's nice to kind of have some more, so I can kind of dedicate, like each project bag gets its own project, rather than having all of my projects crammed into one, and then dumping them all into a basket when I need the project bag for something else. For the next bag that I'm going to make, I've picked out all my fabric, and I saved this one just because I really don't want to mess it up. I am going to make a Star Wars bag. So it's going to be this fabric, and I've got enough, I should be able to make two, but it's going to be this Star Wars fabric on the outside, and this fabric on the inside. And I found these as remnants a while ago. These have been in my stash for a while. I don't know where I bought them, but I do know because I was at Joann's this past Friday? Yeah, this past Friday. And they still have these fabrics. So, if you guys want to get them, you still can. And for the base, instead of using canvas, I'm going to use leather. So, I know it'll go through my machine. I've sewn with leather before, but I want to make the bottom out of leather and possibly the handle. I'm toying with the idea, I don't know if this is going to work, I'm toying with the idea of sewing the lining fabric inside of the handle so that I've got leather on the outside and then that soft, I mean the leather's not, it's nice and flexible and soft, but I might just have that little pop of white and black on the inside. We'll see. But I'm excited. This is going to be a great bag. And I think it's going to be pretty big. I don't do a lot of very large projects, but maybe I'll knit a sweater that fits me in the future. One that actually fits, where I pay attention to gauge. I will be making some of those for the cow as prizes. So I'm working on those now, and I'll be dyeing up some yarn soon. We got a new piece of equipment, and before I start making any new colorways, I want that to be set up because it's a totally different layout for my skeins. I'll be able to do 3 or 4 skeins at a time, and I'll be able to do 12 skeins total at a time, 12 to 16. So since it's allowing me to do more skeins, the skeins are laying out differently, so I don't want to develop a new colorway in a pot and then try to like fall in love with it and try to recreate it with the new system. So I'm just gonna hold off a little bit. I have been dyeing, but more about that later. Yeah, and I do have an actual finished object. Here it is. It is the hat that I was making for the Once Upon a Corgi Beauty and the Beast cow. And I made this with Capra DK from Knit Picks. And I really like this. Especially, it's super soft. I think I made it possibly a smidge too short. But, because maybe not. It's shorter than most of my hats, but at the same time, I don't have to fold it up in the back. So here it is. And it's got that flower motif. I really like this yarn. The Capra DK is 85% superwash merino and 15% cashmere. But it's already, and this is where I was last week. So It's a nice yarn, but I don't know if you can see, it's already getting fuzzy, like just around the top from me carrying it around. So I'm not so sure about it, using it for something that gets a lot of wear. It might pill. And I know yarn's gonna pill. It's kind of inevitable, but I think this might pill a lot. I think I'm gonna knit a little swatch and try carrying it around for a while and see what happens. Because if it pills up pretty badly, but it pills up nice and solid and you can just get all the pills off of it, not a big deal. Because then it's just kind of soothed. But if it does that, like, kind of fuzz that just sort of mats together over the stitches, that would be a problem. I don't know. But for cowls and hats, I think it would be great. I think it's a nice yarn. So I'll probably be buying this again. And that's my only finished object. Oh, and I got that submitted. The deadline isn't until the 26th of May, I think. But I actually got it submitted on the 17th. So I'm feeling pretty awesome, because typically when there's a deadline, I start to feel almost resentful towards the item, like it's an obligation and I don't want to do it, but I do. I really wanted to knit that hat and I was really excited about it. So I'm really proud of myself for getting it done in time and for not wasting time and not getting it posted. So I posted it the day I finished it, and I'm happy. But for the There and Back Again cowl, I am working on my Traveling Woman shawl, and I am at the point, here's where I was last week, I'm at the point where there's enough stockinette that it does not want to show up well. But I should be starting the lace, except I lost the pattern. I think it's over at Tiki Taco, where we went on Saturday? I think we went on Saturday. I need to call them. But the, I only have the paper copy of the pattern because I got it in a swap, and that's why I put it in the spiral bound, was so that I wouldn't lose it. And then I lost it. But if I can't find it, if they don't have it, I'll just go ahead and buy it so I have the digital version too. So I'll give it a couple days. And then if I need to, I'll just go ahead and buy the pattern, because it's not, I don't think it's that expensive. And it's a really pretty pattern, and it has so many, you can do it in from lace to worsted weight, and she's got different sizes for all the different weights of yarn. And I definitely want to make a DK version. So, yeah. I'm probably going to end up getting it. Unless I find it. And I'm also still working on Tim's The Falls of Walrus socks. I talked about these last week. And it's with Malabrigo sock in the Aguas colorway. So not much progress on here. But I have been working on them. I've been mostly working on the hat and the shawl. There. And another thing that I have been working on, my Hermione's Everyday socks are kind of still in timeout until I can get in there and fix all the stitches. So soon, I will work on them. But I'm really excited about the projects I have right now, so I'll get to them eventually. But I started, Molly of A Homespun House is doing an ornament knit-along, and I decided that I want to do that, and I want to do it with hand spun. So I've got all of these little bits, like these were samples of, this was a bat. I wasn't sure if I wanted to card it again, so I took a chunk, spun it as is, and then took another chunk and carded it and spun that one. So I've got these little samples of just different bases. This is Gotland. It's all shiny and fuzzy. But little bits that were left over when I was plying, so I tried chain plying them to see how they would turn out. And just, yeah, all around just little samples. This one's a big crazy art yarn with locks and beads, and it was just trying out a new technique. So I'm going to turn these into ornaments, because most of them only need about 20 yards. And yeah, I started on the window cat, or tiny window cat. I'll put a link down below. I have like this much done. There's not much to show you, but it's like a little cat, and then it has a little tail that sticks up. So I'm working on that one right now with some, I think I spun BFL, and it was like a creamy BFL with a little bit of brown kind of threaded through. I spun that and dyed it with marigolds, and it was one of my first attempts with marigolds, and dyeing with marigolds, and one of my first hand spun yarns. So it's gonna be a precious little cat to me. I'm excited, and I'm gonna see if I can complete. What are you doing? What are you doing? Sorry, Tesla's under the table. But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can make, the goal is to make 12 by the end of the year, and I don't think that's gonna be a problem, as long as I stay focused. We'll see how that goes. I do have one more whip, and I showed this to you guys. It's not a whip, it's a soon-to-be whip, because I haven't actually started it yet, but I showed it to you before, and it was for the tea mitten. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I have a teapot, and it needs cozying up because, for one thing, I drink very slowly and my tea gets cold, and so it's no point in having a teapot filled with hot water that's gonna be room temperature before I ever get to refilling my tea. So I'm making a little cozy for it. And I found my yarn. This is the one that made it all the way down the hill in last week's episode. So I want to start with the gray, or start with the brown, go to the white, which is not quite so blindingly white as this is showing, and then go to yellow. And what I'd like to do is start with the brown and then put in some rows of brown and then white, and then go to white, and then white and then yellow, and then go to yellow, and then reverse it. And so I'll start and end with brown and have a big yellow stripe around the middle with white on either side. So I think that'll be really pretty, and it'll make my hobbit hole nice and cozy. And I'm gonna wait until I'm well into my shawl. Possibly wait for my shawl to finish, and then go ahead and cast that on. Or maybe I'll get impatient and cast it on today. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I end up doing if I cast it on soon. You guys will know, I'll tell you. You'll probably see it on Instagram too, if you follow me there. And then, those are all my whips, soon-to-be whips, and finished objects. So I'm pulling out something I haven't done in a while, and that is a UFO. So this is my hand spun, and I made it, oh, it's so pretty. This is a cascade, what do they call their roving? Maybe they just call it roving. This was a cascade braid, and it's the glitter colorway, and it just looks super stony and gorgeous. And I spun it to try and keep some color repeats, but also let in a little bit of blending in between. So I didn't necessarily go for stripes. I guess I did end up getting stripes, but I thought the linen stitch would look really nice, especially with the brass buttons. The problem is I made this too long, so I don't know. I don't like this. I don't think I like anything about this. So I'm going to undo it. I might do it again, make it a little bit taller and thinner. I don't know. I feel like this isn't going to keep me warm, and I'm just going to end up folding it and putting it inside a jacket, and then you won't see it. But I'm so proud of this yarn that I can't bear to have that happen. So I think I'm going to reskein it, figure out my yardage again, and find something new for it. I don't know what, but I do like the idea of it being a cowl. And I do like the linen stitch. But maybe slip stitches would work just as well, and have the color changes working their way up. I think the back is gorgeous. It looks like some cobbled road. So, I really like it. But this wasn't the entire braid. I wound up spinning. This is probably the thinnest I have ever spun. And one thing I will say, if you get Malabrigo roving, usually, and for the price, it's usually worth, you'll have to decide. For the price, it's not so bad, but it's kind of felted. So when you get it, you can't just start drafting from one end, because you have to kind of rip it apart and pull it into strips and then spin it. At least I do. Every time I've gotten it, I've had to do that. That's been true for a couple braids that I've gotten from them. But here's this. I'm not sure about the wraps per inch. I could look that up. So this is actually a 3-ply, and I love the colors. It's grays and oranges and tans, browns, all kind of melded together. And I can see why they call it glitter, but it's so pretty. It doesn't really shine. Merino does not have the luster that other bases might have, or other wools. But it's so pretty, it's so soft. And if you take the Malabrigo, just because I don't want to put anybody off it, because it's a great roving. Just be prepared when you get it. So say this is your full piece of roving. All you really need to do is kind of strip it, and this will kind of break it up and make it a lot easier to spin. Just kind of check your pieces before you start spinning and make sure that all the fibers are moving smoothly. I mean, you may want to just kind of pre-draft each section a little bit just to test it, see how it feels. And maybe other people haven't had this problem. Maybe you'll get it and it'll be just buttery smooth and it'll spin just perfectly. In which case, great. That's fantastic. But that's just the experience that I've had with it. So hopefully you don't get a felted one. But if you do, it's not the end of the world. Especially, I think it's usually like $16 for a braid. So for that amount, that's not a lot of work to go through to make that work. Especially because it is pretty. Those are all my finished objects and whips and things. So on to acquisitions. Yay! Alright, my first acquisition is something I should have purchased a long time ago, but I've been using kerchiefs, and I kind of just didn't go buy it. But I've got my face mask for when I'm dyeing, and if I decide to do more speckling. Always Tesla. Oh, Tesla. Always good to be protected, and safety first, guys. So, pick this up. After my big dye day, of course. And now this is a bit sad, but I think we've all come across this in our time as knitters, but a woman came to hook a needle when we were hanging out on Tuesday, and one of her co-workers' friends' mothers or grandmothers passed away, and they gave her just all of the yarn and anything crafty they gave to her. So she brought in all the boxes, and we combed through it and brought a couple things home. So one of the things I grabbed, and we were talking about this, you know, this, it's so sad for her stash to just be kind of distributed to strangers. So we found some like notes that she had. She had a paper that had notes on her grocery list and notes on the pattern she was working on, and all this kinds of stuff just like tucked into the book. And she had a ton of baby sweaters that were fully knit. They just hadn't been assembled. So I took one home. Not that my mother watches this, so Mom, calm down, not pregnant. But one day, Tim and I will probably have kids. So I figure I'll finish the sweater, and all I have to do is assemble it and knit the neckband. So I don't know the woman's name. I don't know anything about her, but I like the idea of this sweater actually getting used instead of going in the trash or something. So here it is. Here's the front, or the body of it. So you've got the front sides and the armholes, and it's got the little band already on here down the front. Are there buttonholes? No. No, there are not. So there are no buttonholes. But it's got the little sleeves. Look at the cute little sleeves. And it's got a, I think, seed stitch. There's a little hole that I need to fix. But I like the idea that this sweater's not going to go in the trash, because she put a lot of work into it. And there were a lot of baby sweaters in the bin that were finished except for the finishing. So that was sad. They were probably all knit for babies, and then it just didn't get to them. So that's kind of sad. I also got a poop ton of buttons. A lot of them are baby themed. They're like shaped like rabbits, or they have little duckies or rocking horses on them. Some of them are those little more vintage looking buttons where it's like they're plastic, but they're going for like a mother of pearl look, but they're in different colors. So I've got a bunch of those, and I'm not going to show all of those because I got a ton of buttons. And they were all still on their little placards, so they're nicely organized. I got this guy. Which has embroidery and knitting and blocking. It has just everything. Macrame, knitting. It's got tons of stuff in it. So I'm really excited about this one. And I think this is my favorite. And we were all going crazy about this. And this is, we looked it up. They did not renew the copyright. So this is kind of public domain, so me showing any part of the pattern isn't really a big deal. But women's sweaters, America at work and play. And they're like victory sweaters, and I really like this one. And they've all got like the funniest little names, except for Raglan Classic. Not so. America is fascinating new darling. Let's see. My favorite one, and I don't know if it's actually its own pattern or if the dress is the point. I need to look at the pattern some more. But I absolutely love this little cap-sleeved sweater underneath. I don't know if it's a separate piece. I'm hoping that it is, but I don't think it is. But I think I can take this pattern, like the stitch design at the neck and sleeves, and put it, well, I don't know. I can probably find a similar pattern to make, but they're all victory sweaters, and they talk about perfect to wear in your victory garden and stuff like that. So it's really cool. They're cute patterns. That's the classic raglan with the ribbing. I think that I could actually make and wear. And if I can figure out that cap-sleeved little sweater, I would definitely wear that one too. Really cute. And not too vintage. I don't think I have the right attitude or bearing or confidence to wear like a properly vintage piece. Because I think making that work, a lot of it is the confidence and the way that you wear it, not just throwing it on and going. And I don't have enough pieces to match with it, so even if I made a super vintage sweater or something like that, it wouldn't look right with everything else that I'm wearing, but I like those. So those might happen. I just have to see if I can actually figure out the pattern and do it well, so it definitely won't be my first proper sweater pattern. But yeah, I was really excited to find that, because it was mixed in with all these other really weird patterns. One was a knitting pattern that had, it was a boy blowing up a balloon and the girl like holding the balloon for him while he blows it up, and they're just like, yeah, and 50s, black and white. They're wearing knitted outfits, but you have no idea what the pattern is for, and bizarre stuff. We also found a bunch of advertisements for where you could mail 50 cents and get this pattern book and stuff, which I'm sure none of those are, I don't know. We don't think any of them are still viable, still working, so, but it was all pretty. We really liked it. We had a lot of fun going through all of the old patterns and the buttons, and it was nice. And I hope that somewhere she knows that her stash didn't go to waste. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. I've been very focused on cows. Just this past couple of weeks, I don't know what happened. I guess I was just so excited about my cow, I decided to take part in everyone else's too. So, it'll be fun. Hopefully I'll have an ornament to show you guys next week, and possibly a sweater if I can find one, so that yeah, I can get involved in those too. We'll see. But I think that's pretty much everything. Now it's just going on to shop update and the not so knitty portion. So if you're just here for the knitting, no problem. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming. And for everybody else, we are moving onwards. So, shop update. Now that I know that I'm not sick and I'm not going to be getting cooties onto things, I have been dyeing more, and I'm really happy. It's been a while and I've really missed it. I didn't do any dyeing yesterday because I was fussing with the podcast, or not fussing with the podcast. I love the podcast. The podcast does not cause me any stress, and I'm always really excited and happy to record, but I was fussing with my phone because it's being a butt, and I got so frustrated after, I think I started recording 3 times, and one time I got like 30 minutes into it and realized my DSLR that I was using, my Nikon, it only recorded for 5 minutes and then stopped. And then I only found that out because the battery died after 30 minutes and the battery was full. So I don't know what happened. I decided I didn't want to, there's no way for me to see from the front if it's still recording, because on the tripod I can't see the camera. But I decided I wasn't going to mess with that. I tried with my husband's laptop. The video quality was awful. And so I started with the tablet, and that's working really well. I had to set up a light because it gets really dark without it, even with the window right over there. But I'm really glad that I was able to record, because I really enjoy doing it. Yeah. But dyeing, so I didn't do any dyeing yesterday. I just cuddled up and did some knitting and tried to let my brain deflate so that I could come in today and be excited. But I did on Tuesday. I dyed 14 skeins of yarn, and I did their tonals, So I've got gray. The gray may be more of a semi-solid. I'll have to check. But I've got blue, green, and pink. And they are drying. Those will be coming to the shop. Since today is my update day and I am recording the podcast instead, I'll probably just sit on them until next week's update and do one big massive update. So you know what? No shop update today. I will do one massive shop update next week. Decision made. Keep an eye out. So I'll see you guys with that next week. And on to not life stuff, the not so nitty. Yesterday, Tim came home and we watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And honestly, I was expecting to be disappointed. I kind of thought, even though there wasn't a proper book to base it off of, because it is based off of that cute little textbook that I've read cover to cover a few times, and I use it when I'm trying to figure out a colorway. That's one of the books I grab to figure that out. And I don't know, I was expecting them to overdo it and over embellish and kind of like the Hobbit movies. And I'm sorry if that's going to upset anybody, but the Hobbit movies were neat movies, but they included a lot of stuff that did not happen in the book. Because that was the shortest, I think, of the whole Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and everything, and yet it got like 3 movies? 4? How many? I don't know how many movies it got, but they embellished a lot, and they were still very cool. They just weren't exactly the Hobbit. So, I thought Fantastic Beasts was going to be the same way. I thought it was going to be kind of overdone, overly embellished madness, and it was great. It was awesome. I spent the entire movie flipping out. I love Newt Scamander's Hufflepuff scarf. Love it. And Tim and I, a few weeks ago, we did the Pottermore quiz. And honestly, Tim was a little offended when I said this, but I really thought he was going to be a Slytherin or a Ravenclaw, and he's not a bad person, like, and that's how he took it. He's like, what? Not for Ravenclaw, but for Slytherin. He's like, I'm not a jerk. Why would I be a Slytherin? But he's so focused, and he's so direct, and when he knows he wants something, he figures out how to get it and he gets it. So I thought Ravenclaw or Slytherin. And plus, when if there's ever a debate, instead of, just kind of bickering back and forth, he just pulls out his phone and lets the other person talk, finds the fact, and then he's just there. So I was like, Ravenclaw, you're totally one of the two. He got Hufflepuff, which I found really surprising. I'm okay with it, because I got Hufflepuff too. Which Hufflepuffs, by the way, are essentially hobbits. So, yeah, crossing my fandoms there. They're underground, they have a round doorway, they have plants hanging from the ceiling, and they're right next to the kitchen. Come on. You've got gardening and food, and they're underground. It's hobbits. So, we were happy about that. At first I was like, what? Until I read about the common room and everything, and I was like, okay, this definitely applies. And then we did the quiz for, I liked my wand, I'm not going to go into that, but we did the quiz for the Patronuses. Patronuses? I got a dolphin, and I think I went through enough emotional distress that my Patronus probably changed. I don't know what to, but if it could happen to Tonks, it can happen to me. And Tim got a cat. Something with an R, but he was very upset that he got a cat, because he is not a cat fan whatsoever. He is any animal in the world but cats fan. So, I got all excited, and I started telling him he was just like Severus, and I was his Lily, and flapping about, because I should have, I told him the cat was me, since I love cats so much. So that was a better spin on it. And he was a little happier with it after that. But yeah, I want to watch the movie again. We only rented it. So I have another 20 hours or something to watch the movie. So while this uploads, I will be watching Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them again. And yeah, I told him for our anniversary, because technically we got married on April 22nd. We met on June the 8th, and we had our wedding ceremony on October 15th? Terrible. So we have 3 anniversaries. April is always really busy for us. October has Halloween. It's really close to Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. So we've got plenty going on there. So we stick to our day we met. And since we pretty much started dating the day we met, we were inseparable just as soon as we got to know each other. So that was nice. So I think it's cute keeping that date anyways. But yeah, June 8th. We were going to get each other, usually we get each other a season of Dragon Ball Z. We've done that for the past few years. This year we were going to do a season of Dragon Ball Z and a season of Adventure Time, but I asked to change out my Adventure Time for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, because I want it. I love everything about the movie. The outfits are great. My only concern for the future movies is that they chose Johnny Depp. He was only there for a few minutes, and I love Johnny Depp. I have no problem with Johnny Depp whatsoever, but he carries a lot of baggage because he's been in so many movies, and I was afraid that it was just going to be Dumbledore versus Captain Jack Sparrow, but it doesn't seem to be going that way. He doesn't seem to be playing that similar character that he's been playing for the past few years, which I love his movies. It's hard to get past the fact, for me, that he's Grindelwald, but I liked him in the movie. He didn't seem Jack Sparrow-ish, so I have high hopes. I want to knit that scarf so badly, so I can just like toss it over my shoulder and run around. Anyways, sorry. I'm still super excited about the movie. I can't wait to watch it again. But yeah, anyways. On Sunday and Monday and yesterday, before we watched the movie, we worked on our chicken coops, and for the boys, we're doing a 12-foot by 4-foot rectangle, and it has 3 cattle panels folded over it, so you've got like a tunnel, and we've made sure that all of the supports to hold the structure together, because the cattle panels do try to warp the boards. We made sure all of those could be perches for them to hop onto. They'll have plenty of space to get at the ground and pick and everything, and it should be light enough that I can just have a rope attached to it and lift it up and just walk it and get them new ground every day. So that one's almost done. I still have to cover it in hardware cloth, and we have to cut out a door and get that attached. But soon they'll be outside, and I'm sure they're going to love that, and I'm pleased. The girls are getting an 8-foot by 8-foot coop. It's got 2 cattle panels bent over it, and we're actually building them. The boys are going to be in there for, they're about 5 weeks now, so they will be around until they're about 11 weeks old at most. So they don't, by the time we get them out there, it'll be 6 weeks. So they've only got 4 to 5 weeks to be out there. And the weather's really nice. It's beautiful. So we're not doing a full coop. at this time for them to go into. They've got, we've got them protected from the wind, and they'll be fine in there, and then we can upgrade it in the future. But we need to get them outside. They're going crazy. The girls will be getting an entire coop. Like, they're gonna have a coop with nesting boxes, and they're gonna have a little ladder to run up there, so they make the most of the ground space that they're gonna have, so they can dig around and find their grubs and worms and be happy. So I'm really glad that the coops are almost done. They're so close. If nothing else, I'll be able to take the girls outside for the day and bring them in at night, because they really liked that before. I feel so bad that we're so behind on this, but everybody's got space. They've got food. They just need things to keep them busy. So I might order a xylophone for them to peck at to keep them busy. I just have to remember to take it away at night, or we won't be able to sleep. So, yeah. What else? Oh, we did name one of the, we've got another bird named, and I'll add a picture of her here. We have, I don't know what breed she is, but I think she's an Easter egger. She almost looks like a little hawk. She's Hen Detta's sister. And Detta, she doesn't really have any speckles anymore. She has maybe a little bit. She doesn't have her V, but we still recognize her as Hen Detta because she's got a golden head, and then it comes down to brown feathers that have darker brown scallops on the edge. And they're so pretty. And her sister is covered in speckles. Like, she had a golden head, but it's speckles all over. But now that her feathers are coming in, and her mutton chops, because she's got, I think that comes from the breed that gives the blue tint. And I don't remember what breed that is. I'll probably put it up here somewhere when I look it up. But she's got these little fluffy mutton chops, and all of her speckling is now right here. So she looks like she has a beard. So I named her Bluto from the bad guy from Popeye. Oh my gosh. Every time I see her, I laugh. Bluto is just the most ridiculous bird. I really enjoy seeing her, though. She's so funny. Yeah. But I think that's pretty much everything we've been up to. It's been pretty slow. Just fantastic beasts and where to find them, and chickens. That's pretty much what we've got going on. So thank you if you have if you stuck around for the full episode. Don't forget to head on over to Ravelry to check out the cowl. You'll find the link down below. And post on Instagram if you're working on the cowl with the hashtag ThereAndBackAgainCowl. And yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on it to see what everybody's making. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for showing up. Happy making!